You woke up this morning, and the first thing you did was lie, not to someone else, to yourself. You looked in the mirror, you arranged your face, you chose which version of you the world gets to see today, and the worst part isn't that you did it. The worst part is that you've been doing it so long, you forgot there's a face underneath. Freud had a word for this. He said your mind builds a mask so convincing that it fools everyone around you, and eventually it fools you too. But the mask has a crack, and in the next few minutes I'm going to show you exactly where it is. Think about this morning. Really think. You opened your eyes. Before your feet even hit the floor, something happened inside your head. A calculation. Not a conscious one. Something faster than thought. Your brain ran through the day ahead, the people you'd see, the role you'd need to play, and it assembled a version of you designed to survive it. The confident one for work, the easygoing one for friends, the fine one for the person who asks how you're doing. You put that version on like a coat, and you walked out the door wearing someone else's face. You do this every single day, and you think it's normal. It is normal. That's the problem. Freud broke the human mind into 3 parts, and if you've heard of them, forget what you think you know because most people get this wrong. The first part is the id. The id is the animal. It's the part of you that wants what it wants, right now, without apology. Hunger, rage, lust, jealousy, the impulse to scream at your boss, to kiss a stranger, to quit everything and disappear. The id doesn't negotiate, it doesn't plan, it doesn't care about consequences. It is pure, unfiltered want. The second part is the superego. The superego is the judge. It's every rule you've ever been taught, every expectation placed on you, every voice that told you who you should be, your parents' disappointment, your teacher's approval, society's checklist of what a good person looks like. The superego doesn't want you to be happy, it wants you to be acceptable. And then there's the ego. The ego is the liar. It sits between the animal and the judge, and its only job is to keep the peace. The id says, I want to burn this all down. The superego says, you can't, people will judge you. And the ego says, let's go for a run instead. The ego doesn't resolve the conflict, it disguises it. It takes the raw, ugly truth of what you actually feel, and it wraps it in something presentable, something safe, something that won't get you fired or abandoned or exposed. That is the lie you tell yourself every morning. Not a single lie. A system of lies so sophisticated, you built your entire identity on top of it, and it starts before you even realize it's happening. Right now, as you listen to this, your ego is active. It's deciding how much of what I'm saying applies to you, and how much you can safely dismiss. That's not a criticism, it's a demonstration. The defense mechanisms don't take a break because you're watching a video about defense mechanisms. They're working right now, sorting my words into 2 piles, things that are about other people and things that are too close to home. Pay attention to which pile gets bigger. Let me give you an example you'll recognize. You're at work. A colleague gets the promotion you wanted, the one you worked harder for, the one you deserved, and the first thing you feel isn't happiness for them. Be honest. The first thing you feel is a flash of something hot and ugly, envy, maybe even rage. For a fraction of a second you hate them, but that feeling is unacceptable. The superego won't allow it. So the ego steps in, instantly, and performs a magic trick. Suddenly you don't feel envy anymore. You feel happy for them. You walk over and congratulate them, and your smile is so convincing that even you believe it. But that night you can't sleep, or you pick a fight with your partner over nothing, or you open a bottle of wine at 9 p.m. and you tell yourself you're just relaxing. The feeling didn't disappear, it went underground. The ego buried it, but the body always remembers. Freud identified over a dozen of these tricks. He called them defense mechanisms, and once you learn to see them, you will never look at yourself the same way. Rationalization. This is the big one. Something painful happens, and your ego immediately invents a logical explanation that protects you from feeling the real emotion. You didn't get the job. The real feeling is rejection, inadequacy, fear that you're not good enough. But the ego says, actually, I didn't really want that job. The commute would have been terrible. I'm better off. The explanation sounds reasonable. It makes sense. That's what makes it dangerous. The best lies always do. You do this constantly. Think about the last relationship that ended. Think about the story you tell people when they ask what happened. Now think about the story you tell yourself at 3 a.m. when nobody's listening. They're not the same story, are they? The daytime version is clean, logical, wrapped in a bow. We just grew apart. It wasn't the right time. We wanted different things. The 3 a.m. version is messier, closer to the bone. I was afraid. I pushed them away. I stayed too long because being with the wrong person felt safer than being alone. The ego writes the daytime version. The unconscious writes the other one. Projection. This one is cruel because it's invisible. You take a feeling you can't accept in yourself and you see it in someone else instead. You're angry at your partner, but you can't admit it, so suddenly they seem angry at you. You're attracted to someone you shouldn't be attracted to, and instead of sitting with that discomfort, you accuse your partner of flirting with other people. The feeling is real. It's just aimed at the wrong target. You are fighting your own shadow and calling it someone else's name. Think about the person who irritates you most, not someone who has done something objectively wrong to you. The person who just gets under your skin for reasons you can't fully explain. Freud would tell you to look very carefully at what exactly bothers you about them, because there is a very good chance that the quality you despise in them is the quality you refuse to acknowledge in yourself. The things that trigger you the most are almost always mirrors. Displacement. You can't yell at your boss, so you yell at the waiter. You can't confront the person who actually hurt you, so you snap at the person who's safe, the one who loves you enough to take it. Your partner, your child, your friend. The emotion finds a target, just never the right one. And the person on the receiving end has no idea why you're suddenly furious about how they loaded the dishwasher. You don't know either. That's the point. The real target is protected by your fear of what would happen if you were honest. So the anger goes sideways. It always goes sideways. And the people closest to you pay the price for a confrontation you're too afraid to have with someone else. Sublimation. This is the one Freud actually respected. You take an unacceptable urge and you channel it into something the world considers productive. Rage becomes ambition. Sexual frustration becomes art. The desperate need to control everything becomes perfectionism at work. The world rewards you for it. They call you driven, dedicated, passionate. Nobody asks what's underneath because the surface looks so impressive. But you know, at 3 a.m. you know. The engine running your success is fueled by something you've never looked at directly. Denial. The simplest and most dangerous one. Something is happening right in front of you, and your ego simply says, no, it isn't. The relationship is falling apart, but you tell yourself every couple goes through rough patches. Your drinking has become a problem, but you tell yourself you can stop anytime. Someone you love is pulling away and you can see it in everything they do and don't do, but you keep acting like nothing has changed. Denial isn't ignorance. You're not unaware. You're refusing to be aware. There's a difference. Ignorance is not having the information. Denial is having it and locking it in a drawer. Reaction formation. This one will disturb you. You feel one thing and you express the exact opposite. You resent someone and you become excessively nice to them. You're terrified of failure and you become the person who says they don't care about success. You're deeply insecure about your appearance and you become the loudest voice in the room. The intensity is the tell. Whenever someone's behavior seems slightly too much, too generous, too indifferent, too confident, Freud would say, look at what they're overcompensating for. And before you point at someone else, think about the areas of your own life where you try a little too hard, where your performance of not caring is itself a form of caring so deeply it frightens you. Here's what I need you to understand. These mechanisms are not flaws. They are survival tools. Your ego started building this system when you were a child, long before you had the language or the emotional capacity to deal with what you actually felt. A 5-year-old who feels rage toward a parent cannot process that emotion directly. It's too dangerous. The parent is the source of food, shelter, love, everything. So the ego steps in and says you're not angry at them, you're angry at yourself. Or you're not angry at all, you're just tired. And in that moment, the defense mechanism saves the child. It allows them to maintain the bond they need to survive. The problem is that you're not 5 anymore, but the system is still running. The defenses that saved you as a child are now the walls that keep you from being honest with yourself as an adult. The mask that protected you at 7 is suffocating you at 30. One of Freud's patients came to him complaining of a paralyzed arm. No physical cause could be found. Every doctor she visited told her the arm was fine, but she couldn't move it. Freud didn't examine the arm, he examined her life. Through months of careful analysis, he uncovered a memory she had buried so deeply that she no longer knew it existed. During a violent argument with her father, she had wanted to strike him. The impulse rose through her body and reached her arm, and in that fraction of a second her ego made a decision that would last years. The urge was too dangerous. Hitting her father meant losing his love, his protection, everything. So the ego didn't just repress the urge, it shut down the arm entirely. The body became the prison for a feeling the mind refused to release. When Freud finally helped her speak the unspeakable, when she said out loud for the first time that she had wanted to hit her father, the arm began to move again. The feeling had been holding it hostage. The truth set it free. You might think that's extreme, that your defenses aren't that dramatic, but think honestly about your body for a moment. How often do you get headaches before a family dinner you've been dreading? How often does your stomach clench before a conversation you don't want to have? How often does your back seize up during the exact week your life feels most out of control? How many times has a doctor told you there's nothing physically wrong, and you've walked out knowing something is wrong but it doesn't have a name? The body doesn't lie. It doesn't know how to. That's the ego's department. Your body is simply the place where all the unfelt feelings eventually go to live. And here's the deepest cut of all. The person you think you are, your personality, your identity, the collection of traits and preferences and opinions you call yourself. Most of it is ego, most of it is defense. The person who says, I'm not an angry person, that's repression talking. The person who says, I don't need anyone, that's avoidance talking. The person who says, I'm over it, that's denial talking. The person who says, I'm just really independent, that might be a child who learned that asking for help meant being disappointed. The person who says, I hate drama, that might be someone who is terrified of confrontation because confrontation once meant losing someone's love. Strip away the defenses and what's left? That's the question Freud spent his entire career trying to answer, and it's the question that terrifies people most. Because underneath the mask there might be someone you don't recognize, someone softer than the person you present to the world, someone angrier, someone needier, someone who stopped existing at age 7 because they were told to grow up, stop crying, be strong, be good, be less. You didn't kill that person. You just buried them under 30 years of coping. And every morning when you put on the mask, you bury them a little deeper. Tonight, try this. When you catch yourself saying, I'm fine, stop. Don't say it. Just pause and ask yourself what you would feel if fine wasn't an option. If you couldn't deflect, couldn't rationalize, couldn't smile through it, what is the feeling that fine is covering up? Is it anger? Is it grief? Is it the slow, quiet terror that the life you've built doesn't actually belong to you? You don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to fix it or analyze it or share it with anyone. Just let yourself feel it for 10 seconds without the mask. That's all. 10 seconds of honesty with no audience. It will feel wrong. It will feel dangerous. Your ego will scream at you to put the mask back on, to smooth it over, to go back to fine. That resistance is the proof that you're close to something real. Freud said the things we resist most are the things that matter most. The ego doesn't protect you from things that don't threaten it. It only fights what's true, because the lie you tell yourself every morning isn't just a lie, it's a lock. And every time you repeat it, the lock gets stronger. But every time you see it, even for a moment, the lock gets weaker. Awareness doesn't fix everything, but it's the only thing that starts anything. The mask doesn't come off all at once. It comes off in glimpses, in moments when you're too tired to pretend, in conversations where something slips out that you didn't plan to say, in the gap between what you tell people and what you whisper to yourself in the dark. Freud believed that the goal of psychoanalysis was never to make you happy. It was to replace neurotic suffering with ordinary unhappiness. That sounds bleak, but what he meant was this: the pain you feel when you're honest with yourself is real pain. It's clean. It moves through you and eventually it passes. But the pain you feel when you're lying to yourself, that's the kind that stays forever. Because you can't heal from something you won't admit exists. The mask isn't protecting you. It's preserving a wound. Maybe it's time to let it crack. But the lie you tell yourself every morning isn't just about you. It changes how you hear the people around you. It filters every conversation, every argument, every silence. And sometimes the thing that makes you angriest about another person has nothing to do with them at all. In our next session, we'll talk about why your anger is never about what you think it's about. And Freud would say it started long before the argument did. This has been your session on the Couch Freud. If you want to understand what your mind is hiding from you, subscribe. New sessions every day.